Chapter 2. Ritual of Fire. Death is but a toss away. That's what my mentor once told me. And while I believed him, I never truly understood the meaning behind the words until now. I've lived 300 long years, and in all this time, I forgot what it meant to die. I remember the pain for certain. I remember the feeling of helplessness. I never once considered I wouldn't rise again. Time flies slowly while living, but when taking stock of myself, I realize how much time has passed and how much time was wasted. I don't regret for one second the life I lived as a whole, but I still find myself wishing there was more time. I'm not finished with my adventure. I'm not finished with my duty. What happens after I'm gone? Will they survive without me? And where will I go? As far as anyone knows, a watcher that dies falls back into the gray world, forced to while away eternity writhing in its pallid-colored walls. I saw the black spot. I saw the truest death a watcher could face. With one more death, I will become that thing so empty and so cold that we find the only appropriate name to be husk. Even just thinking about it makes me shudder. I will become a husk. Warmth wraps itself around my body like a blanket, and suddenly my eyes are opening to the bright glow of fire, reconstructing my body and pure fire armor around it. I feel the muscles reattach themselves, and my bones push their way through that muscle. I feel skin sew itself into place, holding everything together. I feel the weight of my mortal coil hang on my soul, and once more find myself in the waking world. Several other watchers wake around me, some naked and frayed. The ones not naked are firmly settled in our armor and long coat hanging over. Our weapons cling firmly at our waists and back, ready for more action. Taking the first steps out of the flame, I look around at my surroundings and see an odd sight. The visitor from a week before had come with the elder. What purpose did they have for being around? Most of the time, watchers handled rebirthing other watchers. Haval stood by himself, catching my eye with a gentle smile. He nods and then walks away. I suppose he was happy to see me, but no more so than I to see that he hadn't turned to ash as well. After all, there was no coming back for a vision seer. "Welcome back, watchers," the elder says in her deep, booming voice. "You will be satisfied to know that you all succeeded in your mission." I hear my fellow watchers let out sighs of relief. It occurs to me that they couldn't see what was happening. Only Haval and I know how the beast came to meet its end. With this threat eliminated, we can return to our normal duties as well as train fresh recruits. So please, find one of the younglings and show them the ropes. "Of course, Elder," says a watcher. "It would be our pleasure," says another. The elder nods her approval and leaves the room with the outsider. Tamaru walks into view from the far left of the flame and takes her spot. "Please see Vision Seer Supreme Kaima to reattune yourselves," he suggests. "Remember, these spells may be with you longer than you think, so choose wisely." Those words mean so much more to me now than they ever had before. Whatever spells I chose will be mine until the day I become a husk. It makes me wonder how I should broach the subject of my demise. I am lucky I was forged with my armor. If I was born a century and a half later, I would be naked like some of the other watchers. But now, none of them were able to see the black spot. I know it's somewhere on my body. I need to think in a private spot. Perhaps the baths will be empty. "What time of day is it?" I ask Ralta as the other watchers go about their business. "It is the morning after your death," he replies. "Haval wasted no time in bringing yours and your comrades' ashes here. Thank you." I bow to him and him to me before I walk towards the baths. The temple baths are held 3 stories below base level in a cavernous area where the water traveled through on its way to the river. It is our primary source of water. Not many people use the place in the morning, and on this morning, no one is occupying the large space. 7 pools of bathing water, filled by diverted water from the river and drained every half-day, waited before me. Giant openings in the walls serve as our windows into the black fog of the valley and the small bits of orange light above. The rocks give off a natural dim blue hue that soothed me as I undressed myself. I stand naked, waist deep in pool water, staring at my own reflection. I still look young. My brown skin retained its youthful glow and muscles of strength. I rarely glance at myself anymore. It's hard to remember the face of my 27-year-old body. I doubt anyone that looked upon me would know my age. Seeing me now, it's difficult to imagine I'm just a dying old man trying to come to terms with my imminent end. But I did not come here solely to see my face. Mirrors handle such a trick with ease. I came to find the black spot. A cursory glance at my body told me very quickly where the mark rested. Right in between my pectorals, I saw the little spot of pure black like coal take root in place of skin. In no time at all, it will spread like a disease and corrupt my entire body. It was impossible to outlive and impossible to truly avoid. I hoped it was a trick of my eyes, but I'm mistaken. I sink deep into the pool, sitting on a stone bench underneath the water. Becoming a husk was no simple matter. By all accounts, it was pain. The black spot spreads over time until it consumes the entire body. I have about another 30 to 50 years of life before I become a full husk. Of course, if I am injured along the way, the time grows shorter and shorter. Each wound I suffer becomes a spot for the corruption to overtake. The further the corruption spreads, the more prone one becomes to fits of madness. It's a hopeless situation. I take a few moments to let it all sink in. Miserable thoughts of falling into an endless void become my mind. I stare up at the empty ceiling and sit in the pool of water, thinking on this terrible, eternal fate. Then my mind thinks about Haval and the friends I lost along the way. I remember when the madness took Kian, trying to stay on the ridge to avoid a more agonizing death. I remember Craster, who hid his affliction until he died for the last time. The husky left behind cost the lives of 2 vision seers and several watchers, me included. If he simply left, I wouldn't be on my last life. But I am in the wrong mindset. I should not be blaming another for my own circumstances. If I look back at every event in my life, I'm certain I can find ways to blame some action that created a chain eventually infecting me. In fact, I might as well blame Anon for creating the chain of events to begin with. Such line of thinking gets me nowhere. So this is it. I continue staring at the ceiling, but then I hear the sound of footsteps approaching from the stairs. I turn around to see the outsider looking around. Normally, I might say something or inquire about her purpose here, but I remain silent. I hear, softly echoed in the chamber. Is there a specific pool I'm to use for bathing? She asks. Any of the 7 will do, I say, hoping to return back to my sorrowful ruminations. I'm not so fortunate. As I say, luck rains down in waves, the good and the bad. She walks over to my pool. I hear her steps growing closer and closer, casually undressing herself, her body a soft pink hue, shapely for a trained fighter. In my younger years, before I became a watcher, I know had I met her, I would have considered not taking this path and possibly starting a life of simple pleasures. But I gave that up, and now my duty meets its end. She steps into the pool with me. Why would she bother me now of all times? Are you the person I met when I first arrived here? She asks. How did she recognize me? I was wearing a helmet at the time and barely said 2 words to her. I am, I curiously reply. A big smile spreads across her face like sunshine. I knew it, she exclaims, rather loudly. I recognize your overcoat. She points behind me, but I now feel the need to look and validate her finger wagging. It is a distinct shade of green, unlike the other Watchers' uniforms. And I recognize your voice. A tenor, I believe. Congratulations on your good ear, I murmur. Is she blind to my suffering? I'm not in the mood for this conversation. Did something bring you here? I ask. Sort of. I noticed your slumped shoulders and you looking at the ceiling. It reminded me of a dear friend. Except you're missing the large bottle of wine. She chuckles, reminiscing on some distant memory. I don't believe I've introduced myself. I'm Melissa Sanford, but you can call me Millie. She extends a hand to shake. Should I be cordial or just shrug it off? Imminent doom was no excuse for poor manners. I take her hand in mine and shake. I'm Malikaus, the fated one. Shoot. Why did I say that? I don't want to start a conversation right now. Fated for what? She asks. When I was thrown into a watcher, the elder read the flow of my destiny. She told me I had a grand fate, but was unsure what that meant. I'm destined for something big. Whether or not that's a good thing is still unknown. So all watchers have a destiny? We all have a reading at the very least, I clarify. Those with something significant get titles. Gray the Guardian fought to his last breath during the rise of a god. Without his help, we wouldn't be standing here today. His destiny was grand. Then we have Arameus the Black, a legend around here. He survived becoming a husk for 60 years. They say his whole body was black except for his head. At that point, he left, finding a cure. How do people know he found a cure? It's a legend, but the elder of his time said he could still sense his presence. I see. Her mind seemed to wander for a brief second. Follow-up question. What's a husk? I opened my mouth to answer, but stop. I'm speaking too many unnecessary things. While there are no rules prohibiting talking to an outsider, I do not see why it mattered to say anything. It's not really important, I say. You never answered my question, by the way. What do you mean? Her eyes were pools of mystery, much like the water they reflected. I can't figure out if she's acting ignorant, hoping to avoid my question, or if she truly doesn't understand. The way she discerned my state of mind and spotted me out without much thought showed a quick brain. However, was her cleverness as quick as her intelligence and intuition? What brings you here to Kerietu? I ask. I see another flash of her mind wandering off, searching for an answer before returning to me. It tells me she was considering whether or not to lie. Perhaps she means to probe me for information, something the elder refused to tell her. I simply was curious about what happens out here. But I'm such a bore, she quickly adds. She isn't a threat to my life, but she's also not being completely honest. It doesn't help that I'm in such an irritable mood right now. Perhaps I can find more peace in my break spot. You're dying, aren't you? My eyes immediately narrow on her. That spot on your chest, she points. It's where the huskification process has begun, right? Did the elder tell you that? She did when I was asking about you watchers. That's why you're down here, all alone. She is right. I underestimated her knowledge, especially after she asked me what a husk was. What are you going to do about it? Are you going to tell anyone? She shakes her head. It's not my place. However, I think you should say something to someone. If you keep this a secret, you're only endangering your fellow watchers. Don't you think I know that? I snap. My temper took hold of me. Who is she to walk my world and tell me how to handle things? She's just a wayfarer that doesn't know when to back off. Leave me be, I whimper. Not yet. Let me help you. She seemed so unsure by the words. I wonder if she even said them. But she clears her throat and repeats it one more time with more firmness. Let me help you. I know I'm just a visitor, but let me try to do something. It seems really important for her to attempt. Her eyes are pleading me like a little puppy dog. I wonder what is causing her adamancy, but I refuse to ask such a question. Instead, I shake my head and wave her thoughts away with a hand. There's nothing you can do, I tell her. Once I die again, I'll become a mindless creature doomed to wander Kerietu until the end of time. A husk is not so easily killed. You must sever the head from the body and destroy the heart. Once done, a husk fades into black mist and is carried away by the wind until it gains enough energy to reconstitute itself. I imagine being passenger to such an existence would drive the mind insane. I wonder if I will even be able to see what havoc I wreak, or if I'll just be in a gray box. Don't you have any options? Not many. We aren't much for rules here, but we have certain customs we uphold. My final duty, as a soon-to-be husk, is to escape the lands of the living. I need to banish myself by venturing into Kerietu. From there, I can become a servant to the queen of the grove, or I can wander until I die. She shakes her head, refusing to accept reality, the way the ignorant often acted. There must be something else. You said Arameus the Black found a cure. In legend, I emphasize. As of right now, though, there is no known cure. We cross our arms. I sigh. There's nothing you can do. There's nothing I can do. I must go out to Kerietu alone and die. It was a grim realization that only saddened me to say. I turn and stand up, leaving the bath and drying off with towels folded in a cabinet. Millie still sits in the pool, lost in thought. After I dress myself, I leave and look for Haval, probably speaking with the herbalist at this hour. He held a soft spot for one of the women and often shared an evening meal with her. I think she reminds him of his daughter, but he always says he just likes her smile. I find him easily. The moment I arrive at the herbalist tent on the western side of the ridge, I see him and a group of Suras sitting around a fire and eating stew. The creature was that, a fire, 15 feet tall at least, he says, greatly exaggerating another story. I was with Malikaus, side by side, staring the creature down. The herbalist looked to me, and he paused, turning with them. Ah, Mal, perfect timing. I was just recounting our recent victory. Come, join us. Not right now. Can we talk? I ask. Haval looks at me with concerned eyes. He knows me well enough to recognize when something lingered on my mind. If you'll excuse me, he told the herbalist, to their disappointment. We walk off to find some privacy behind some tents. What's going on, Mal? My time has come, I say, not sure how to properly put into words the despair I feel from the inevitability of my doom. My body has begun the huskification process. His eyes widen in terror. For the first time in a long time, I see a deep well of sadness burst within him, tears flowing relentlessly. This must be a joke, he says. Just yesterday, we were fighting side by side, the same as always. It's the truth. I was always doomed. To become a husk is the natural end for creatures such as myself. We rise, serve, and then repeat until finally become nothing but husks, forgetting all reasons for our existence, if we had any. You're rather grim today, but given the circumstances, I can't say I'm surprised. I always thought I'd die first. There's still time. We both laugh. Two old men remembering better days. His expression darkens. Have you told the elder? He asks. I shake my head in shame. Not yet. I'm afraid, actually. I don't want to leave yet, but I know it's unfair to keep something like this from her. Take your time. There's no need to rush these things. And yet, I cannot continue my duties in good faith. Place a hand on my shoulder, giving me comfort. I know he understands my struggle. After all, if he died, unlike a watcher, his death is permanent. No one expects you or the other watchers that fought last night to return to the thoroughfare immediately. Take a break, gather your thoughts, and then tell the elder when you're ready. After that, decide where your path will take you. I take Haval's suggestion to heart and try my best to relax for the rest of the day. I take the time to play a few rounds of cards with fellow watchers, read a few chapters from a book, and even take some moments to lie down in bed. All just means to pass the time. My thoughts sharpen during all this, and my despair transforms into resolve. By night, I find the elder in the upper levels of the temple, in the meditation room. The entire room is sealed, with an open hole in the ceiling serving as a source of light. Incense burned all throughout with candles lining the wall. Millie sits with the elder in the center of the room, legs crossed. I wish not to disturb, but the elder felt my presence the moment I stepped through the doorway into the room. What can I do for you, Malikaus? She asks me. I have news. I see Millie's eyes perk open. The woman is impossible to read, even more so than the elder, whose mask conceals her face. In fact, I'd say she was even more difficult to read because I could see her face. Is it concern or curiosity that drives her to look upon this moment with such focused eyes? I ignore my thoughts and say, my time has come. The elder grunts from under the mask and pulls out a pipe, which she lights with a match and a nearby candle. She lifts her mask, revealing her strong jaw and narrow face before taking a large puff. "So it has," she replies. "Malikaus, the Fated One. How I wish I could know you for another 300 years. The days grow hard and our times meet their swift ends. But even so, you still have yet to fulfill your destiny. I wonder which way you'll go from here." "What do you mean?" "You have a choice to make, my friend. Of course, I can either wander Kerietu, give myself to the Queen, or undergo the Ritual of Ash. I did not previously mention the ritual to Millie, hoping to shorten our conversation." "Almost right. There is a fourth option available." She takes another puff for a pipe. I wonder what she might mean. I've never heard of this mysterious fourth option. "The Queen knows a great many things about Kerietu that I know nothing of. While we may believe there is no such cure, the Queen might know of a way we have been unable to reach. It might behoove you to speak with her and grasp at her knowledge." "She would never tell me, even if she knew." "The Queen is reasonable in a sense. If you give her something she wants, then she will give you something she considers equal. I know very well her way of dealing with matters. I won't sacrifice someone else's life for mine," I say adamantly. "I don't mean sacrifice. I mean do her a favor and she will do one in kind. The Queen is a creature of a certain order. As long as she feels that order is being maintained, she will act as an ally." She speaks with certainty, but I feel something grab at me from within. I've never trusted the Queen, but it seems I must try something. I will go to her and ask for her knowledge. From there, I shall banish myself to the deepest reaches of Kerietu. I bow and turn to leave, but Elder Tagaya stops me. "Wait a moment, my friend." She takes another puff of her pipe and pushes herself up to her feet. "I shall be joining you on this journey." With all due respect, absolutely not. It's far too dangerous, and if you die, who tends the flame? "You know full well what happens if I die. We commence the ceremony of fire and crown the next elder. For nearly 4 decades, we've all known that Raltamaru would replace me." She was right. We had a ceremony for Ralte several years back in preparation for Tagaya's death. Usually elders chose their apprentice by the time they reached 200 years of age, and then trained the apprentice until the elder dies. Most Surah could live to be 500 or even much older, but health and the dangers of living a long life have a way of cutting their lifespan short. "Just be careful then," I finally say. "Tomorrow morning we leave." "May I also join?" Millie says, with a little cough to clear her throat. Both the elder and I turn to this young woman, late 20s, asking to do something no outsider has ever returned from. To venture into the thoroughfare unprepared, untrained, and unaccustomed to the environment spelled certain death for all those that came before her. To say yes was to condemn her to that death. But there are no rules that could stop her should she choose to ignore our warnings. Before I could form a proper response, the elder replies, "If that is your desire, then so be it." "Are you sure?" I ask the elder. "I am. She came here for that sole purpose, and she's not one to turn around. One day, she'll venture in anyway. It might as well be today. However, I do suggest, dear, that you reforge your weapon as a purifier instrument." Millie rises to her feet like a spring, then bows to the elder. "Yes, ma'am." I see the joy in her eyes when she speaks, so pure and free. Without a doubt, I know she had seen something special. Something highly uncommon for those in her part of the world. But even so, was she truly prepared for Kerietu? It was not a land of kingdoms or tribes or civilization. Kerietu is a land of gods, and us weak mortals trying our best to fight against them. What hope does a mortal have against a god? Millie walks right past me, smiling as she does. Her life looked like that, shrouded in deeply entrenched pain and mystery. What other reason had she for being here? I wake up the next morning, feeling strangely devoid of the fear I thought might arise. After spending an entire day wallowing in my own misery, my feelings seemed to have taken a turn of emotion. The tides of the heart are strange indeed. I wake up early, and yet my quarters are empty. Maybe they're training to make up for my banishment. I dress myself and carry my weapons. Looking into my trunk, I pack my most important belonging for the trip. I take a locket inscribed with the message, "Love before duty," given to me by Lozaya. She was made a watcher the same time as I, and begged me to venture into Kerietu with her, so that we might die together. I almost went with her at that time, ready to abandon my duty and join her forever. After a century of being on the ridge, she tired of our endless duty and left. It was one moment I regretted the most in my life. Had I gone with her at that time, I never would have had to see the rise of the Queen, or need to give endless sacrifices to her. I gripped the locket in hand and placed it in my travel bags. Next, I take some herbs, though I doubt they would do much since I no longer heal. I strap my most recent journal to my waist and decide not to place it in the library with all the other accounts of my life. The final chapter is mine alone to know. If anyone became curious and looked at the watchers that came before them, almost none have a completed story. So few even wrote down their stories in journals anyway, and fewer read the stories until they became old enough to get bored. Other than clothes, nothing else stands out inside the trunk. I am 3 centuries old, and have nothing of note to mark my existence. I leave the barracks, and go to meet Vision Seer Supreme, Kai-Ma, at the forge. A piece of the great flame resides in the hearth to craft purifier weapons. It is here where the Sura spends most of her time. A spear, sword, saber, and shield all sit on a table, freshly forged. "Malikaus," she says to me, pulling up her mask. She holds a hammer in one hand, freshly bashing the shield into shape. "I was wondering when you would show up. You didn't come to get yourself attuned yesterday." "I was dealing with a lot," I say, "but I'm ready now." "Elder Tagaeus told me," she says. "These will be the last runes you ever use." She gestures for me to follow her into the back room. The room is circular in shape, with a few windows casting light down from above. At the center are a table and a chair to its side. I know this process well by now. I sit on the table, roll up my sleeve, and leave my arm bare for inscription. "Where is the spot?" she asks. I point to my chest, right here, right by my heart. She sits in the chair with a thin blade in hand. "That's a shame," she says. "You're one of my favorite watchers." She gingerly places the blade in a small clay container of a blue liquid. "What shall I be giving you for your final journey?" It is a question I should have been ready for, yet, for some reason, I kept myself from answering it all this time. Lightning was always my go-to choice. I enjoyed the ability to strike people from a distance. A flamethrower was the other obvious choice I always took. The body could only contain so many runes at once. 4 was the normal limit, but some pushed 5, risking the bits of damage to the body for using a spell. Given my dire situation, holding 5 spells might save me in a dire spot, but could also hasten my death, defeating the purpose of the benefits. "I want lightning and fire," I declare. "And then I want sight. With sight, I could brave the true darkness, should I venture far enough. Lastly, I also want charges of shade. With shade, I could mask my presence in sound and sight." Kai-Ma nodded at each and rolls out her tools near my arm. "It's been a while since your last attunement," she says. "It stings ever so slightly." "Will it still work?" I ask. "Given my state of being, won't wounds simply become a new spot for corruption?" "Not at so thin and shallow a depth," she says. "Imagine if you scratched an itch and the entire area became black with corruption. That would be bad." She laughs. She takes the knife from the pot and examines the blade, dripping with blue liquid. The metal shines from the orange light of the window. "Do you need me to whisper you comforts in the process?" "I'm not a fledgling watcher," I say. She laughs again. I know. I can't help but tease you. Her face grows somber as she places the knife against my skin. I really will miss you, she says. A sharp pain wakes my senses as she cuts into me. It felt like a tiny fire trailing along my skin. She makes slow, careful incisions, allowing the liquid to root itself into the skin. I feel my body invite the pain into my being, becoming one with the inscription. The rush of power felt by a rune is not something easily described. It feels like gaining a limb rather than losing one. While the blade also became an extension of one's body, a rune felt like an extension of one's soul. Do you remember when I first met you? She asks. I do, I say. You made my armor and made a guess for how long I would live. 1 century, she proudly proclaims. To be fair, though, this was before Elder Togias measured your destiny. Had I known your potential was so grand, I would have guessed a little longer. All the same, it seems my potential was wasted. 3 centuries is not wasted potential. Most Watchers, if they haven't already given up, live to be 2.5 centuries old, but you've outdone even them. How many gods have you prevented from coming into this world? Including the flaming one? About 6 or 7. I wish I could have helped prevent the queen from being born, but I was sidelined at that time. It was wise of the elder to do so. If you died, then you might have run off like that girl from before. You were still in a fragile state then. I knew my duty, I say. I chose to remain here. This order we have works. Those beyond Kerietu will never know what we do for them, and thankfully, they never have to. She begins making another incision into my skin. The first rune begins settling in place. I feel the tinges of power spark within, begging me for use. This is exactly why I'll miss you, she says. Your selflessness is unique here, although I'm sure it's unique everywhere. It's a shame you cannot bear children. That would have been a nice trait to pass on to future generations. Selflessness can be taught. Maybe we should instill these values in recruits before they come here, rather than fill them with grand ideas of duty and heroism. She laughs. You think anyone would join us if we told them the full, unadulterated truth? Come to the ridge and protect the world from abominations that will drag everyone into darkness, should they be free. You will get no credit for your efforts, and there will never be an end, but you have the knowledge of knowing you're doing Anand's work. I would frame it differently, hopefully a little less morbidly. I tell them to come and seek purpose to their lives. Outside of this, purpose is difficult to find. Find a good woman, and protect her is the usual go-to from what I remember. The idea felt empty to me at that time. And though I'm sure in the moment I would have enjoyed it, in hindsight, enjoying such simply feels wrong. People are risking their lives, and I would be having fun with my family. It's not always someone's responsibility to do something greater than themselves. You were 25, 26 when you arrived here, yes? Yes, I say. You never found a partner in that time? I lacked the certain characteristics worthy of gaining one. She raises an eyebrow. Oh? And what might those have been? Assertiveness, I say. I was too passive, I suppose, and I never really asked for what I wanted when I knew I could get it. Stability was another problem. It was so long ago, but I think I just wanted someone to make my life a little easier and take the first step. If you were how you are now, do you think you would have taken that step? Definitely, I say. Life is long, but just like now, it could be over in any moment. I don't know why I hesitated so much in my youth, but had I not, I suppose I never would have ended up here, bound by this duty. She moves on to the final 2 inscriptions. You're free now, she says. Duty no longer binds you. I can't go back to that world. I gave my eternal life for this cause, and I have to live with that. You make it sound like a burden. Look, Mal. Life is not something you can measure so easily. Everyone has a path and a choice, and makes decisions on how it all will go. You chose yours, and it has gone along beautifully, just like so many others. Just try to remember that for your last leg in the journey. If we try to measure up the sum of all of our choices in the end, we might miss the greatest part of the journey. Death, I say. What's so great about it? We live, some achieve, and then we die. Death is the most beautiful part of it all. Without it, we cannot fully understand the sum of what we've done. I've simply stood watch, I say. And the way Hival tells it, were you not around, that flaming god would have been born and brought a whole slew of troubles with it. She is right about that. Thank you, I say. She finishes etching the last rune into my skin. At times, it all feels so meaningless, but then a friend or a wondrous sight brings me back to life. It was truly an honor knowing you. I'm still waiting on what great potential your destiny will yield. Stopping the birthing of a few gods is probably good enough. She smirks and places the knife on her mat. Well, all the same, it was fun while it lasted. She picked up a needle and dipped it in a golden liquid. This part hurts a little more. I still remember, I say. Sure, she says. The needle scratches into the etching as though my skin were being shaved off slowly and methodically. Once she finishes each rune, I feel my body able to twist energy around the etchings. But still, I am unable to use them until the end. Did the corruption take over? She asks me. Very funny. Kaima places the needle down and picks up a small pot of powder and gently sifts it into each rune. This part is even a little more painful, so be ready. I'm ready, I assure. She stands up and grabs a torch from the other room, carrying a piece of the fire. She holds the torch by the table. Place your arm over the fire, she says. I take in a deep breath and comply. My arm sears in pain as the fire wraps around it and it lights the powder in the runes. My arm glows golden, absorbing bits of the fire and fully charging itself. Kaima pulls the fire away and goes to the other room. The process is complete. I feel power surge within my arm, able to channel the runes. I look at the etchings, one complex symbol for each attunement. The golden glow becomes red like the dying embers of a bonfire before fading to nothingness. All done, Kaima says as she returns from the other room holding the bundle of weapons tucked in the shield's handle. I sit up and catch the bundle tossed at me. I don't need new equipment, I say. Does that look anything like your equipment? She jabs. Have you ever heard of a watcher going into battle with a buckler, let alone a rapier? I had not heard of such, and when I thought about it, it was the foreigner's equipment. I recall her holding a rapier. You want me to give this to the woman? She's going with you after all. She's going to die, I say. That's her prerogative. Kaima grabs my arm and looks at the runes. The lightning holds 12 charges, but concentrated, each charge is 20 seconds. That's 4 minutes total of sustained lightning. I know. Don't give me attitude, she snaps. This is the last of your life. You haven't had sight since you got here and never shades, so I will explain them to you. I see sadness in her eyes. This is her way of saying goodbye and wrestling with difficult feelings. I shut up. Flame is the same, she continues. Sight is a powerful rune, but can only be sustained. The max time is 1 day. I'm not sure how you can keep track of that one, but good luck all the same. Shade is a little different. It holds 8 charges, each allowing for 1 minute of concealed sight and sound. Though, if a creature stares long enough, they still might see you. As for sound, it creates a bubble of noiselessness, so try not to sneak directly behind something. Thank you, Kaima, I say once more. I stand up and give the old woman a hug, leaving the bundle on the table. Good luck, Mal, she says. It's been an honor working with you. I smile, take the bundle, and leave. Outside the tower, I take one final look. This place I called home for most of my life. I'm not sure what comes over me, but I think it is something akin to nostalgia. Memories of what transpired in these halls flood back into my mind from my earliest days as a watcher to the most recent. Farewell, I say to the giant tower. Path to the thoroughfare, when I see a heartwarming sight. Veteran and fledgling watchers stood gathered in a circle, opening for me to walk through. At the exit to the thoroughfare, before an unlit bonfire, stood Elder Tagaeus, Hval, and the foreigner Melissa Sanford. Vision seers and light blessed stood in attendance, behind the watchers, keeping their heads low in reverence. Each watcher held a torch in hand, the elder holding the only lit torch. This is the ritual of ash, but held far too close to home. This is meant to be done in the thoroughfare, where people could remain safe. Each would pass the flame around and then in turn add their fire to the logs, creating the bonfire I would step into. As the corruption spread through my body, the eldest watcher would behead me and stab my heart so that my ashes would scatter to the winds. It was an honorable death for a watcher, but it was not the path I chose. I don't understand, I say to them all, stepping within the circle. Am I not to meet with the Queen of the Grove? You are, Elder Tagaeus says. This is not the ritual of ash, but rather a sending off. She lights the neighboring watcher's torch. In kind, that watcher spreads the fire to the next, and then the next, and then the next, until all the torches stand alight. Today we say farewell to Watcher Malikaus and Vision Seer Supreme Hval. No. Hval is leaving as well? But he has no reason to. We light this fire in your honor, to remember the flame that burns so brightly on this ridge. She gestures for me to come to her side. I do so. Now, everybody, add your fire to the flame and give your strength to these two on their final journey. A watcher placed their torch to the pile of logs and added a small ember. The other watchers all joined in turn, allowing the flame to become a true bonfire of spirit. I offer a piece of my flame in honor. Each says, farewell. Hval places a hand on my shoulder. Why? I whisper to him. You don't have to die with me. I'm old enough, he replies. Besides, no one should have to die alone. It is not much of a reason, but I do not argue. I stand and enjoy the ceremony in my honor. And when the flame is strong and everyone is finished, the elder hands me a torch and gestures toward the flame. I step forward and place my torch in the fire, carrying the weight of my fellow watchers. Thank you, everybody, I say. I hope one day, in some life, I might see you again. With that, I turn to face the path leading into the thoroughfare. Elder Tagaeus, Hval, and Millie stand by my side. Together we take the first steps towards death.